How many of you have ever lost your mind? I got quite a few hands there. Thank you so much to the brave souls already willing to have acknowledged losing your mind. Some of the rest of you might have been wondering what on earth I was actually asking about, so let me clarify. I was not referring to the stereotypical glib way that some people use to refer to mental illness. I actually meant something quite different. So let me clarify even further by asking you two additional questions. By a show of hands, who has ever said or done something mean or ugly or unwise in the heat of the moment, maybe something you later regretted or felt embarrassed about? Be honest. Okay, keep your hands up for a moment and take a look around. That looks like almost all the hands up in the air. Thank you. And one more question. By another show of hands, how many of you have ever posted something online in the heat of the moment? Maybe something you later regretted or even deleted. Be honest. Okay, a few hands went up there. Thank you so much to everyone willing to acknowledge these instances of losing your mind. If you notice, I had my hand raised too. Are you interested in reducing the chances of losing your mind in the future? Yes? Excellent. That's what I'll be talking about this evening. In fact, I'm going to ask you to commit to a practice, an action, that will help improve your ability to respond wisely instead of reacting impulsively or losing your mind. I'm going to ask you to meditate. Actually, let's get started right now. For the next few moments, tune into all of the sensations of your own breath. You can close your eyes for this if you like, or keep them open, however you feel most comfortable. Notice the rise and fall of your chest and belly with every inhalation and exhalation. Notice the sensation of air moving in and out through your nose or your mouth. See if you can even tune into the sound of your own breath as air moves in and out of your own body. If your mind has wandered off and gotten distracted, that's fine. Our minds all do that from time to time. Respectfully notice where it's gone and gently bring your attention back to your breath. I'm going to invite you now to say a mantra silently to yourself with every breath. As you inhale, say, I am here. And as you exhale, say, in this moment. Breathing in, I am here. Breathing out, in this moment. I am here. In this moment. Excellent. Let your attention broaden back out now to the whole theater. Gently open your eyes if you've had them closed. We just meditated together. How awesome. This is a room full of over 300 people. Thank you. I feel very honored to have meditated with all of you. As you can see, meditation is a practice that is available to us in any moment. What we just did involved a few techniques common to mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is the intentional practice of anchoring ourselves in the current moment. We just used our breath and a simple mantra as anchors for our attention as we meditated together. When we are being mindful, we are not only experiencing our own thoughts, emotions, and body sensations, but we're also observing them from a standpoint of curiosity, acceptance, and compassion. Let me take a moment now to share with you the background story of this TED Talk. In 2016, there were several months in a row where it seemed like we were being bombarded by news of absolutely horrific events unfolding across our country. There were alarming reports and even videos of excessive force being used by authorities against unarmed people of color. News and social media lit up with reactions to this. Some helpful and constructive, others ugly and downright hateful. I had started blogging early last year and thought to myself, I'm a clinical psychologist. I need to say something about this. But the words would not come. Then came the news of the deadliest shooting in U.S. history at a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida. Again, news and social media lit up with reactions to this horrific event. And again, I thought to myself, I need to say something about this. But the words would not come. Soon after came the news of 5 police officers shot and killed during an otherwise peaceful protest march in Dallas, Texas, the city that has been my home for over 14 years. Like so many others, I was overwhelmed by shock and sadness and confusion about these devastating losses of life and the deep prejudices that seem to drive them. But I was also deeply concerned about this culture of ugliness that was being fueled online. It seemed as if our modern world of instant, easy reactions was making these terrible situations even worse. I finally had something to say. I wrote a blog post that became the inspiration for this TED Talk. My words did not come in the form of a cure for racism or homophobia or gun violence. I wish I had the answers to those problems. Instead, I issued the same call of action that I put to you today. Please, for your own well-being and the greater good of humankind, commit to the practice of responding wisely instead of reacting impulsively. Commit to learn how to integrate with your emotions with your wisdom. To do this, please meditate. To learn more about our emotions, let's take a little trip into our brains. Hello, brain. Brain imaging researchers have let us know some fascinating things. For example, when we experience intense negative emotions, we literally lose our minds, or part of them anyway. When we experience intense negative emotions, the prefrontal cortex area of our brain, which is right behind our forehead, goes partially offline. Now, this is interesting to think about because our prefrontal cortex is responsible for functions so important, they're called our executive functions. Things like planning, reasoning, and anticipating consequences. Uh-oh. What does it mean when the planning, reasoning part of our brain goes offline? Well, other parts of our brain become more active. Please meet your amygdala. The amygdala is a small lima bean-sized region of our brain that is responsible for most of our biggest negative emotions. Think fear, anger, and rage. When we are triggered into a highly emotional state, our amygdala goes into overdrive. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. As human beings, we are hardwired for emotions. We need our emotions. For example, in the midst of a life-threatening crisis, like meeting this cute little mountain lion on our hike, our intense emotions can offer us information that is vital to our very survival. In non-life-threatening situations, our emotions can still offer information that is helpful to us in figuring out how to move forward. Take a moment to think about how you felt when you learned of the tragedies I mentioned a few moments ago. As you recall those events, you might even be feeling some emotions right now. if we constructively tap into these kinds of emotions, they can offer us helpful guidance on how to grieve, make meaning, and make changes to move forward. What happens, though, if we react impulsively in the heat of the moment when our lives are not in immediate jeopardy? These are the moments when we can get ourselves into some trouble. How likely are you to make wise, informed decisions when the reasoning, planning part of your brain is not accessible? For most of us, that answer is painfully clear, right? In those moments, we are more likely to make impulsive choices that we will regret later when the rest of our brain comes back online. We do best when we allow our emotions to integrate with our brain's other functions. This gives us the chance to respond with wisdom, dignity, and poise. So, how do we work on the practice of responding wisely? An important start is recognizing there's a difference between a reaction and a response. A reaction is quick and emotion-based. It's a bit like drinking that cup of instant coffee. It's ready in a snap, and there's definitely a time and a place for it, but most of us are not going to feel very fulfilled drinking that all day, every day. A response, on the other hand, is slower. More like that cup of freshly brewed coffee, hopefully made from freshly ground beans. The addition of time allows our emotions to brew with our knowledge and our wisdom. It turns out that one of the most effective ways to improve our ability to respond wisely is meditation. Yes, meditation. Brain imaging researchers have also let us know that meditating on a regular basis increases the number of neural connections between our prefrontal cortex, which is that thinking, reasoning part of our brain, and other parts of our brain responsible for very important functions. Things like attention, focus, cognitive flexibility, learning, memory, emotional regulation, compassion, empathy, and the ability to see other perspectives. Well, that's pretty cool, right? Who wouldn't want to boost those abilities? As a psychologist, I prescribe mindfulness meditation to all of my patients because there is now a robust body of research showing the benefits to our mental health, including for things like depression, anxiety, trauma, and ADHD. I also practice what I preach, and I meditate almost every day, usually twice a day if I can. On a personal note, I can let you know that meditation has helped me navigate through some rough patches in my own life. Now, meditation cannot totally prevent you or me from losing our minds and flying off the handle. But it can help decrease the likelihood of that happening and decrease the intensity when it does. There may be some of you out there right now thinking to yourself that meditation is just too out there or woo-woo for you. I've seen some of the skeptical glances coming up here, and I respect that. I was raised by two research scientists, an astrophysicist and a microbiologist. So even though I've been meditating almost every day for several years now, it still feels a little woo-woo to me. I choose to lean into those woo-woo feelings and meditate anyway for two reasons. One, the scientific evidence is quite clear. And two, the beneficial effects in my life are quite noticeable. There may also be some of you out there asking the question, does meditation fit within my spiritual belief system? Well, full disclosure here, I'm a psychologist, not a theologian, so you can take my response with a few grains of salt. But my answer to that question is yes. Meditation can be as spiritual or as secular as you would like it to be. You can listen to guided meditations, do a walking meditation, go to a mindfulness meditation class, sit quietly in centering prayer, or meditate on the sensations of your own breath and body, like we did earlier. Isn't it interesting that something as simple as meditation can make such beneficial changes in our brain and therefore maybe our lives? Meditation is indeed a radical way for us to engage with the world around us. Meditation can help us pause before we post that inflammatory comment online. Meditation can help us pause before we rip into someone who has hurt our feelings or cut us off in traffic. Meditation can help us pause before we medicate our own upset feelings with unhealthy choices, addiction, denial, or hatred. Meditation can help us pause to allow our intense emotions to integrate with our wisdom, showing us a different path forward. Meditate for yourself and your brain. Meditate for your family, for your community, for your higher power. Meditate in any way that will work for you. Please, meditate. Thank you very much. It's been an honor.